Good evening, everyone. My name is Shannon Durio. I am an author in the Living Well with Grit book, and I am the only thing standing in between all of you and intermission, so let's get to it. My story begins in the spring of 2020, which simultaneously feels like it was 20 years ago and also just last week. We all remember what was happening back then. Like so many others, I was wearing all of the hats: mom, nurse, teacher, counselor, employee, chef, not a good one, housekeeper, and most days I was wearing all of the hats at once. Sunrise to sundown, I was at max capacity. A familiar scenario for many in this room, I'm sure. Exhausted, yet every night when the kids were in bed, I crawled to my spot on the couch, grabbed my bottle of wine and the TV remote. I deserve some me time, I told myself. I earned this. 1 glass, 2 glasses, 3? 3 episodes, 4 episodes, 5? It was usually after midnight when I finally surrendered to sleep. I woke up every single morning completely depleted. Glancing in the mirror one morning, I stopped in my tracks. I hardly recognized myself. Stress, fatigue, and the remnants of a hangover lined my face. A thought crossed my mind. Why am I settling for this version of myself? I had always struggled to realize my intrinsic worth, but now the consequences of that were evident in my deteriorating health. Is this what I thought I deserved? What kind of example was I setting for my kids, specifically my daughter? I wanted her to know that she was created by God with a purpose and to believe that she was strong and capable. I had a responsibility to model that for her. But first, I needed to believe it about myself. That's always the hard part, am I right? We can see the potential in others. We would move heaven and earth for the people we love, but we don't extend that same kindness to ourselves. We often get stuck. That complacency, coupled with self-doubt, was a really dangerous combination for me. I realized 2 things. 1, I needed to change if I wanted to grow, and 2, I couldn't do it alone. That moment launched me on a years-long journey of reclaiming my life. It started off focused on my physical health. I had always been a recreational runner, so that became my catalyst for change. But I needed some structured goals. I convinced my dad to train for a half marathon for me, a first for both of us. Ironically, growing up, my dad and my 2 siblings were all competitive athletes. I was just the I hope both teams have fun kind of kid. So me being the one to execute an elite athletic event with my dad was a plot twist that no one saw coming. The process quickly revealed that this was much more than a physical journey. My mental, emotional, and spiritual health were also evolving. Throughout the training, my dad always told me that we all need grace in moments of struggle. We began including #GraceCrew at the end of all of our text messages as a reminder that we were in this together. We had it printed on our t-shirts for race day. That concept became a foundation for my healing. One of the hardest parts of breaking the cycles of complacency and self-doubt is accountability. It sounds so punitive, but my experience of training with my dad taught me that, man, we need each other. I needed people in my life who saw the good in me, the potential in me, and who would hold me to that standard instead of me naming all of the reasons why I was unqualified to uncover the best version of myself. It's scary to trust people, to invite them to walk alongside you in your fear, to allow them to speak the truth in love. It's humbling to ask for accountability when you're seeking to overcome lifelong struggles. But let me tell you how my community showed up for me and how accountability actually manifested. I hired a running coach to help me train for a full marathon. And on the surface, I asked an expert to tell me when and how far to run every day, and I reported my progress to her. It sounds transactional, but she also taught me how to listen to and be kind to my body, that I was capable of so much more than I thought, and that self-discipline yields way more benefits than its cost. I completed the full marathon because of her. She was an extension of my grace crew. On the days that I doubted myself, my husband, who's here tonight, was there to say, "Excuse me, lady, I don't let anyone talk trash about my wife. That includes you, so stop it." My grace crew. I realized that alcohol was significantly impacting all areas of my health. I worked really hard for those years to change my relationship with it. But if anyone in this room has struggled with this issue, you know that navigating social settings without it can be really tough. When I told my women's life group at church about this vulnerability, they linked arms with me and said, "We got this, let's practice together." And they planned mocktail outings for us. My grace crew. When I agreed to get vulnerable and write a chapter for a grit book that would be published, and I knew that structured storytelling was not my strength, I asked my best friend April, who's in the room tonight, to help me make sense of my words. That woman worked through 7 versions of my chapter with me. My grace crew. As I fought hard to love myself and believe that God had created me with a purpose and for a purpose, my faith was renewed. Every morning spent in prayer and reading the Bible affirmed His love for me, giving me the strength to move forward. My Jesus, my grace crew. You are here tonight because you are a part of somebody else's grace crew. I mean, I've got my ride or die at the table over there, all of you guys, just like you're all at the table here for someone else tonight. Folks, we need each other. Sometimes we need the arms to fall into. Sometimes we need people to be our guardrails. Sometimes we need the tough love. Sometimes we need the running partner on the road of life. Sometimes we need the supportive faces at a table to look at when you are stepping way outside of your comfort zone and speaking publicly at a gala. Let's keep showing up for each other. Remind the people that you love what they look like through your eyes. Do it tonight. Thank you so much.